My beloved brothers and sisters, today I want you to pause for a moment and truly reflect. Have you ever stood at the edge of everything collapsing and all you could do was raise your hands and say, "Oh Allah, you are enough for me"? Have you ever experienced that moment when everything you relied upon, people, wealth, plans, fell apart and all that remained was your connection with your Maker? That moment is not your defeat. That moment is your turning point. When you let Allah be enough for you, you'll witness how He reshapes your world in ways you never imagined. You see, we live in a world that teaches us to seek validation from everything around. User friends, our careers, our status, our possessions. We are constantly trying to prove our worth, constantly trying to be enough for others. But the truth is, no matter how much you try, the world can never give you the peace that comes from knowing that Allah is enough. The world will always take more than it gives. But Allah, He is Al-Wahhab, the one who gives freely, constantly and generously. When you say with conviction, Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil, Allah is sufficient for me and He is the best disposer of affairs, you are not just uttering words. You are handing over the burden of your soul to the one who never sleeps, never tires, never abandons, never errs. You are saying, Ya Allah, I trust you even when I don't understand. I believe in your wisdom even when I feel lost. I surrender to your plan even when mine has failed. When you truly rely on Allah, you fear nothing but losing Him. That reliance is not just a phrase we repeat with our tongues, it's a condition of the heart, a powerful state of being that separates those who live with purpose from those who live in confusion. In this world filled with uncertainties, heartbreaks, rejections, betrayals, and disappointments, there's one constant that never changes, the presence of Allah. When you come to the realization that everything around you is temporary, but Allah is eternal, your entire outlook shifts. You begin to see life differently. You begin to understand that every hardship you face is not a punishment, but a reminder that your heart must not be tied to what is fragile. When the heart clings to what can be taken away, it is constantly afraid. But when the heart clings to the one who never leaves, that heart becomes fearless. How many times do we panic when people let us down or when things don't go according to our plans? How often do we lose sleep because someone unfollowed us, someone didn't respond to our messages, or someone rejected our efforts? But the reality is, none of these people had control in the first place. They are mere creations, and we must remind ourselves that our peace was never meant to come from creation. Our peace comes from the Creator. The one who truly relies on Allah understands that people's opinions don't define them, positions don't elevate them, and losses don't destroy them. When your connection with Allah is strong, everything else becomes secondary. You no longer fear the storms because you know the one who commands the winds. You no longer dread the night because you know the one who created the morning. True reliance on Allah does not mean we sit back and do nothing. It means we act with full effort, but our hearts remain tied to Him, not the results. You apply for the job, but your trust is not in the company, it's in the one who provides. You visit the doctor, but your hope is not in the prescription, it's in the one who heals. You build your home, raise your children, work for your future, but you understand deep within that your success lies in the help of Allah. This kind of reliance brings freedom. It frees you from the chains of stress, anxiety, and fear when your focus shifts from "what if this doesn't work" to "even if it doesn't, Allah will bring better." That's when you begin to live with strength. There are countless stories of those who came before us, prophets, companions, righteous believers whose lives were filled with trials, but their hearts were anchored in tawakkul, true reliance upon Allah. Take the example of Musa, peace be upon him, when he stood before the sea with Pharaoh's army behind him. The people with him panicked, but he didn't. Why? Because his reliance wasn't on escape routes, it was on the one who creates paths where none exist. He said with complete certainty, "Indeed with me is my Lord. He will guide me." That confidence came from reliance. And what happened next? The sea opened. Not because it made sense, but because when you rely on Allah, the impossible becomes possible. In our lives, We face moments where we feel trapped emotionally, financially, spiritually. We feel surrounded with no way out. But in those moments, if you can train your heart to say, with me is my Lord, and believe it, then you will witness doors open from directions you never imagined. You must learn to trust the silence. You must learn to trust the delay. You must learn to trust the closed doors. Not every no is a rejection. Some are redirections. Not every delay is a denial. Some are divine timing. But only those who rely on Allah can see that clearly. When reliance becomes your foundation, your entire demeanor changes. You speak differently. You think differently. You walk with dignity, not because of arrogance, but because you know your worth is defined by your Creator, not by the creation. You serve others, but you don't become enslaved to their praise or wounded by their criticism. You do good not for recognition, but because it pleases the one who sees it all. You don't lose yourself chasing temporary happiness because your joy is rooted in something permanent. There is a tranquility that comes with letting go of control. You plan, but you also surrender. You prepare, but you also pray. You try, but you also trust. This balance is the secret of those who live peacefully in a chaotic world. The ones who smile through hardship are not naive. They are aware of the pain, but they are more aware of the one who manages their affairs. They cry in sujood and walk out with calm hearts, not because their problems disappeared, but because their trust in Allah grew deeper. That is the essence of true reliance. He who brought you this far will not abandon you now. Look back at your life. Think of every moment you thought you couldn't move forward, every time you felt like giving up, every tear you shed in secret, every prayer you whispered through trembling lips. You made it through. Not because you had all the answers, but because Allah carried you. Even when you didn't realize it, even when you doubted yourself, even when you were far from Him, He never let you go. He brought you through pain, through loss, through fear, through loneliness, and He placed you here today. Why would He abandon you now? We often look at our current struggles and forget our past victories. We panic because we forget how far we've come. We think we are alone because we forget how many times Allah made a way when there was none. That job you got when you thought you had no chance, that healing that came when you were breaking, that strength you found when you were falling apart, all of it was from Him. So why now, in this new difficulty, would you believe that He will leave you? Allah's love is not seasonal. It's not based on how many good deeds you've done this week or how pious you look in front of others. His love is consistent, patient, merciful. He sees the goodness in your heart even when the world only sees your mistakes. He knows your efforts even when no one acknowledges them. He hears your dua even when your voice is silent. He is not like the people who give up on you. He never tires of forgiving, never tires of helping, never tires of lifting you when you fall. So stop thinking you're too far gone. Stop thinking your problems are too big. The one who created the stars, the oceans, and the skies can surely handle your life. But there's something important to understand. The help of Allah does not always come in the way we imagine. Sometimes it comes through ease, and sometimes it comes through tests. Sometimes it's a person sent into your life, and sometimes it's someone taken away. Sometimes the help of Allah looks like comfort, and sometimes it looks like struggle, but in every case it is help. The storm is not a punishment, it's a preparation. The closed door is not rejection, it's protection. The delay is not neglect, it's perfection. But this clarity only comes to those who trust deeply. Those who say, Ya Allah, I don't know why, but I know you do, and I know you will never leave me. You have to reach a point where your faith is not shaken by outcomes, where your heart is so connected to Allah that even if the whole world turns its back on you, you still walk with peace. Because you know the one who created your path is watching over you. You know that He will never waste your tears, your pain, your patience. Every single moment you endure is being recorded by the most just, the most merciful, and what He has prepared for you in return is far greater than anything you've lost. You may not see the wisdom now. You may be struggling to understand why things happened the way they did, but that's okay. You're not supposed to understand everything immediately. You're supposed to trust. Just like a child doesn't understand why the medicine tastes bitter, but takes it because they trust their parent, you must trust Allah, even when the decree feels heavy. He sees what you don't. He knows what you don't. And He loves you more than you love yourself. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, remember this: Allah did not bring you this far to leave you. He brought you here so you can rise even higher, so you can become stronger, wiser, purer, so you can draw closer to Him. Every difficulty is an invitation to return, to reflect, to reconnect. Don't waste that opportunity by focusing only on the pain. Look beyond it. See what it's doing for your heart. Let it teach you, let it soften you, let it lead you back to the one who never left. True freedom is in surrendering to the one who controls it all. We live in a world where everyone is running after control of time, control of people, control of outcomes, and control of their future. But the irony is, the more we try to control, the more restless we become. The more we try to hold on to everything, the more it slips away. That's because we were not created to control everything. We were created to submit to the one who does. And it is in that surrender that we discover peace, a peace that the world cannot give, a peace that material possessions cannot provide, a peace that is not tied to circumstances but to your relationship with your Creator. When you finally surrender your heart and say, Ya Allah, I don't have the power, but you do, that is when your heart breathes freely for the first time. When you acknowledge that your job, your family, your health, your wealth, all of it is from Him and under His control, that is when the shackles of anxiety begin to break. We often think that freedom means being able to do what we want, when we want, how we want, but look around. Those who follow every desire, those who try to live without boundaries, are often the most broken inside. Their hearts are restless, their souls are empty, and their lives feel meaningless. That's because the soul was not created to follow whims. It was created to worship. And when it is detached from its purpose, it suffers. True freedom isn't about doing whatever pleases the self. True freedom is being liberated from what enslaves the self. When you are no longer a slave to people's opinions, to society's expectations, to worldly attachments, and you become a servant of the most merciful, then and only then are you truly free. Surrendering to Allah doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. It allows you to walk through the tests of life without being crushed. You stop fearing loss because you know the one who can restore. You stop panicking over outcomes because you know the one who controls results. You stop stressing about the future because you know who holds it. This is the strength of faith. And that faith grows every time you let go and let Allah take over. It grows every time you cry in prayer, not because you're defeated, but because you finally stopped fighting the qadr of Allah. The moment you say, I submit, I trust, I surrender, that is the moment your heart begins to heal. Because now, instead of carrying the burden alone, you're placing it with the one who never gets tired. Sometimes Allah takes away from us to remind us who we belong to. Sometimes He withholds to redirect us. Sometimes He tests us to purify us. And sometimes He delays us to protect us. If you don't understand it now, that's okay. You're not meant to understand everything immediately. You are meant to trust. You are meant to keep walking with faith even when the road is foggy. You are meant to say, if my Lord brought me here, then He has a reason. And if I stay close to Him, I'll be okay. That kind of surrender doesn't come overnight. It comes from practice. From remembering Him constantly. From praying even when your heart is heavy. From choosing patience when it would be easier to complain. From choosing gratitude when it would be easier to dwell on what's missing. Every time you make those choices, your surrender deepens. And with that surrender, peace follows. Let go of the burden you were never meant to carry. This world can be overwhelming. So many expectations, so many responsibilities, so many demands. But not everything you're carrying belongs to you. Some of the weight on your shoulders is made up of things Allah never asked you to carry. Worrying about what people think. Stressing over what hasn't happened yet. Holding on to past mistakes. feeling responsible for things beyond your control. These are burdens that only weigh down the heart and cloud the mind. And the longer you carry them, the more exhausted you become. There comes a point where your soul begins to whisper, enough. That whisper is your fitra calling you back to the one who created it. That whisper is reminding you that there's a place where these burdens can be placed, where the pain can be released, where the fear can be eased, and that place is in sujood. How often do we try to fix everything on our own before turning to the one who actually can? We try every door, chase every solution, and when nothing works, we finally remember to pray. But what if we reversed that? What if our first response was always to turn to Allah? What if instead of holding it all in, we poured our hearts out to Him first? You would be amazed at how much lighter life feels when you know you don't have to carry it alone. You would be amazed at how your perspective shifts when you know that your burden is not ignored, your pain is not unseen, and your tears are not in vain. Every emotion, every hardship, every confusion, He knows it, and He is closer than anyone else. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means acknowledging your limits. It means saying, I'm human, I'm trying, but I can't do this without you. It means recognizing that you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need all the answers. You just need to turn to the one who does. That's the beauty of our faith. You're not expected to be perfect. You're not expected to never fall. You're only expected to keep turning back, to keep trying, to keep hoping. That's what Allah loves, hearts that keep returning, even if they've wandered 1,000 times. We burden ourselves by comparing our lives to others. We look at someone's highlight reel and assume their life is perfect. We scroll through images and stories, and suddenly our own life feels inadequate. But what we forget is that we're comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's show. Everyone is struggling with something. Everyone is carrying a story that they don't share. So instead of carrying the weight of comparison, focus on your own journey. Your path is unique. Your tests are custom designed for you. Your story is being written by the most wise. Don't ruin your peace trying to live someone else's chapter. Another burden we often carry is the need for control. We want everything to go according to our plans. We want our timelines to be followed. But life doesn't work that way. Allah's plan is always better than our expectations, even if we can't see it at the moment. When you let go of control and trust His plan, you find relief. You no longer panic when things don't work out. You no longer feel lost when a door closes. You say, if it wasn't meant for me, there's a reason, and I trust that He knows better. That is the mindset of someone who understands tawakkul. Not passive waiting, but active trust. You still work, you still plan, you still strive, but you know that at the end of the day, what's written for you will never miss you. Carrying guilt from the past is another burden that weighs heavily on the heart. We all make mistakes, we all fall short. But holding on to shame, replaying sins over and over in your mind, believing that you are beyond mercy that is not from Allah, that is from shaitan. He wants you to despair. He wants you to believe that you can't return. But your Lord is Ar-Rahman. He loves to forgive. He welcomes the brokenhearted. He responds to the one who cries in regret. No matter how dark your past, it does not define your future. As long as you are alive, the door of repentance is open. So let go of the guilt. Learn from the past, but don't live in it. Take the lesson, seek forgiveness, and move forward with hope. One of the most beautiful forms of surrender is found in dua, not because it changes Allah's plan, but because it changes your heart. It transforms pain into purpose, fear into faith, and confusion into clarity. When you raise your hands and say, Ya Allah, I can't do this alone, you're admitting that you need Him. And that admission is not weakness, it's strength. It's the recognition that you're not the creator, you're the servant. And when the servant turns sincerely to the master, help always comes. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way you need. So don't underestimate the power of your prayers. They may be whispered in darkness, but they're heard by the one who created the light. When life feels heavy, go back to the basics, return to the Quran, return to your salah, return to the remembrance of Allah. These are not rituals, they are lifelines. They ground you when everything else is shifting. They heal you when words fail. They comfort you when no one else understands, and they bring you back to your purpose. Because at the end of the day, the heart was created to know its Lord, and the further it drifts, the more lost it feels. But the moment it returns, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because the heart does. You don't need to have all the strength. You just need to know where to find it. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to ask the one who does, and you don't need to carry everything alone. You just need to hand it over to the one who never lets go. That is the essence of surrender. That is where true freedom lies. And that is how the heart finds peace in a world full of noise. When the heart finds Allah, it no longer seeks validation from the world. One of the greatest struggles of our time is the constant desire to be seen, to be heard, to be praised. We live in a world where value is measured by likes, by comments, by followers, by applause. And in chasing all of this, we often forget the most important thing. What does our Creator think of us? Because it's easy to live for the people. It's easy to shape our words and actions to please the crowd. But pleasing people is a road with no end. Today they praise you, tomorrow they criticize you. Today you're celebrated, tomorrow you're forgotten. But when the heart is attached to the one who never changes, who never abandons, who sees every sincere intention and every hidden tear, that's when the heart finally feels safe. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to the world. You no longer rely on people's approval to feel valuable, because you know the one who created you already sees your worth, and he never overlooks effort. When your heart is connected to Allah, it starts seeking His pleasure before anything else. You start asking, will He be pleased with this, instead of, will they be impressed by this? You begin to make choices based on what brings you closer to Him, rather than what earns you more recognition. And slowly your world changes. You find peace in silence. You find joy in sincerity. You find contentment in being unknown to the people, but known to the angels. Because you've understood something powerful, that it's better to be remembered in the heavens than to be celebrated on earth. And when Allah loves you, He calls Jibreel and tells him to love you. And when Jibreel loves you, He announces to the inhabitants of the heavens to love you. And when they love you, acceptance is placed for you on the earth. So why chase temporary attention when eternal love is waiting for you? The heart that knows Allah finds honor in humility. It doesn't need to boast. It doesn't seek status. It understands that real strength lies in kneeling before the Almighty. Real power is in seeking forgiveness in the last third of the night. Real success is in being remembered by Allah, not by the world. The more you remember Him, the more He remembers you. The more you humble yourself before Him, the more He elevates you. That's why the companions would cry, not for being forgotten by people, but for missing the chance to be mentioned by their Lord. They knew what really mattered. They knew that when your heart is with Allah, it doesn't break when people leave, it doesn't shatter when you're misunderstood, and it doesn't panic when you're alone, because it is never truly alone. If the world turns away but you still have Allah, you have everything. But if the world embraces you and you've forgotten Him, you have nothing. That is the truth we must always remember. People come and go, praise fades, applause dies down. But what remains is your connection with Allah. That's why you'll find people who seem to have nothing materially, but their hearts radiate peace. And you'll find others who have everything the world offers, yet their hearts are full of noise, emptiness and pain. Because the heart doesn't thrive on fame or wealth, it thrives on dhikr. It thrives on Quran, it thrives on sujood, it thrives on sincere moments of turning back to its master. When your heart finds that, the world loses its grip on you. You walk through life with a light that doesn't come from people, it comes from faith. The more we seek the love of the Creator, the less we need the validation of creation. That shift changes your entire life. You begin to do things even when no one is watching. You begin to pray in the depths of the night, not to show anyone, but because your heart longs to speak to its Lord. You begin to give even if no one knows. You begin to forgive even when it's hard. You begin to let go of arguments, not because you lost, but because your ego is no longer your master. The heart that's found Allah no longer finds satisfaction in being right, but in being righteous. It starts to care less about impressing and more about progressing. It starts to long for gatherings of remembrance rather than gatherings of entertainment, because it has tasted something the world can't offer. Now ask yourself, what is your heart full of? Is it full of people's opinions? Is it full of regrets? Is it full of fear? Or is it full of remembrance, of hope, of tawakkul? Because the condition of your heart will determine the quality of your life. A heart full of remembrance is not easily shaken. A heart full of dua is not easily broken. A heart full of trust is not easily overwhelmed. That's why the most successful are not always the loudest, the richest, or the most admired. They are the ones whose hearts beat with sincerity, whose eyes tear in the stillness of prayer, whose tongues are constantly praising their Lord. They may be unknown on earth, but they are known in the heavens. And there is no greater honor than that. Real success is not about how many people follow you. It's about where your heart is being led. If your heart is led by desire, by ego, by status, then no amount of success will satisfy you. But if your heart is led by purpose, by worship, by longing for Jannah, then even a simple life becomes a blessed one. Because you're not living for the dunya, you're using the dunya to reach the akhirah. Every moment becomes meaningful. Every difficulty becomes a chance to grow. Every success becomes a reason for gratitude. Every setback becomes a reminder to return. This is how the heart transforms. Not overnight, but slowly. With intention, with effort, and with sincere dua. Your heart was never meant to be filled with the love of this world. It was meant to be filled with the love of its creator. That's why no matter how much you chase, you always feel something missing until you return. Return to prayer. Return to the Quran. Return to the one who never turns you away. The more you fill your heart with Allah, the less space there is for anxiety, for envy, for hatred. The light of faith pushes out the darkness, and when your heart is full of light, it becomes a source of peace, not just for you, but for those around you. Build your relationship with Allah before the storm comes. Because when the storm hits, and it always does in this life, it's not your wealth or friends or strength that saves you, it's your connection with your Lord. If your heart is already attached to Him, then the storm only strengthens that bond. You run to Him, not away. You pray more, not less. You find comfort in His words, not confusion. But if your heart has been distant, then the storm feels like a punishment. It feels like isolation. It feels like being lost in the dark. So prepare your heart now. Don't wait for hardship to remember your purpose. Don't wait for pain to return to prayer. Start now while the skies are clear. Let your heart become a garden of faith before the rain comes, because when it does, it will only grow. This is where we understand the importance of what we allow into our hearts. Your heart is precious. Protect it. Don't expose it to everything. Be mindful of what you watch, what you listen to, what you speak about. These things affect the soul. They either bring it closer to its purpose or further away. If you want a heart that is soft, that responds to reminders, that tears in prayer, then nourish it with what is pure. Read Quran not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Listen to words that uplift your soul. Sit with those who remind you of Allah. These are the choices that build a strong, sincere heart. Don't let the noise of the world drown out the whispers of your soul. Your soul longs for something eternal. It doesn't find peace in trends, in fame, in material gain. It finds peace in sujood. It finds peace in knowing that you are walking a path that leads to your Lord. That's why even if your journey looks different from other 7, if it's slower, quieter, less glamorous, as long as it's sincere, it's beautiful. Your value is not in how visible you are to people, but how close you are to Allah. Some of the most beloved people to Him are unknown to the world, but every night their tears fall for His sake. Every day their hearts yearn for Him, and in His eyes they are kings and queens, even if the world doesn't notice. Keep your heart close to the one who gave it to you, because this world will try to pull you in every direction. It will offer you distractions, temptations, false promises, but your heart knows the truth. It was created for a greater purpose. It was created to know, to love, to worship its Creator. And the moment it finds that purpose, the moment it reconnects, the moment it realigns, that is when it finally finds peace, not the peace of the world, but the peace that only comes from nearness to Allah. So I say to you today, let Allah be enough, and then just watch how the stress fades, watch how the confusion clears. Watch how people change, how doors open, how your soul finds calmness even in chaos, because once Allah is enough for you, nothing else can shake you. And I end with this. The world will continue changing. People will come and go. Wealth will increase and decrease. Situations will rise and fall, but the one who never changes is Allah. Anchor your heart to Him. Make Him your priority. Let Him be your safety, your comfort, your beginning and your end. And then watch how your world transforms, not because life became easy, but because your heart became content. May Allah allow us to find peace in His remembrance. May He make our hearts firm upon His obedience. And may He be sufficient for us in every moment of our lives. Ameen.